What is going on, everybody? It is Dylan with Astrodfs bringing you a brand new video. Today's video, I'm going over the running backs to target in cash games for week 1. So if you guys were interested in quarterbacks, that video I made yesterday, so go check that out. Today we're just focusing on some running backs to play in cash. So these are not tournament plays. These are just safer running backs to play with good matchups, good opportunities, etc. So going off of it, I think one of the first running backs, if you want to pay up, I don't recommend paying up on running backs this week. A lot of rough matchups and uncertainty there. If you want to pay up for somebody, I'm okay with Austin Ekeler, 8,400 against Miami. Granted, the Miami defense is changed. Vic Fangio is the defensive coordinator there. But with what Austin Ekeler is capable of, a new OC for the Chargers, and a lot of improvements basically for the Chargers. The offensive line healthy, someone like Quentin Johnson getting added to the offense, another huge weapon. It could benefit Austin Ekeler. Now I think his targets go down this season, but I think the volume that he gets is going to be better volume, right? So he might not get the same amount of targets, but he might be in better shape for some of the receptions he gets to get more yards, touchdowns, etc. But hopefully in the run game he's used more. I'm not in love with this, but if you were to ask me if it would be okay, like you had the salary, there's wide receivers you like, you wanted to pay up on a running back, I'm okay with Austin Ekeler. But Bijan's pretty much the first guy I want to target. There's words that Brian Burns might be out for Carolina, which is huge. They have a decent defensive line, Brown being one of the key pieces there, and can shut down some run game. But Bijan is just a versatile weapon. They drafted him a top 10 pick for a reason. They're going to use him. Their offensive line is good in the run. He's a very versatile dual threat running back. So Bijan Robinson at 8,000. I think this is probably the cheapest that we're going to get Bijan this season. I think he goes around to the 9 to 10K range this year. But 8,000, yes. Like, if you want to pay up for a running back, this is the most confident running back I'm okay with paying up for. It's 8,000 Bijan. Derrick Henry here, 7,800 against New Orleans. New Orleans known for having a good defense. But with having someone like DeAndre Hopkins added to Tennessee's offense, hopefully Treylon Burks is in that game as well. And we already know what Chig can do. So you have a lot more weapons offensively out the gate than you did last year for Tennessee. And that should only help Derrick Henry, right? That should make it so when Derrick Henry's on the field, you have weapons that can hurt you in the pass game too. Last year it wasn't like that for Tennessee. This year I do believe Derrick Henry should have a decent amount of a bounce back. I don't think he's going to have a crazy year like he did in years past, to where like he is the clear-cut number one running back, but I think he has some numbers that impress some people this season. Josh Jacobs, though, 7,700. I would feel more confident playing Josh Jacobs against Denver than Derrick Henry at 7,800, but I still like Derrick Henry, right? I still like him for cash. But Josh Jacobs is a solid piece for me. Denver was terrible against the run, terrible against the pass, too, for running backs as well. And we go and look at Josh Jacobs' games against Denver last season. 22 in week 11, and week 4, 37.5, right? You have a different quarterback in Jimmy Garoppolo than you did Derek Carr, right? But they also add Jacoby Myers. Unfortunately, Darren Waller isn't there, but they get Michael Mayer. They have Austin Hooper. Austin Hooper was a good pass-catching tight end. Michael Mayer is going to be a solid run blocker. Won't destroy your team in the pass game, but is going to be an option there as well. So Denver did add some pieces, especially to their defensive line, to go with that. But we all know what Jimmy Garoppolo is capable of. He's a very good game manager. And we saw the success in San Francisco. Now, granted, that's two different offensive coordinators, two different schemes, all that stuff. But the quarterback play of having someone like Jimmy Garoppolo is huge for someone like Josh Jacobs. So I expect Josh Jacobs to have a really good game this week as well. Travis Etienne, it's hard for me to not like anybody on Jacksonville this week. We're going to get into the wide receivers, and you're going to hear me compliment Jacksonville receivers as well. But Travis Etienne at 6,900 against the Colts. Yes, I mentioned in yesterday's video how bad the Colts defense is. They still have DeForest Buckner. They have Shaq Leonard. They have pieces there still, but Travis Etienne proved to be a good dual threat running back. Granted, there's a lot more depth behind him this year, which is worrisome in a little bit, but I think that only hurts down the stretch of the season. But week one, Travis Etienne, 6,900, yes, another good piece for me. Joe Mixon, a lot of people are okay with paying Joe Mixon. The only reason I don't like Joe Mixon is he's kind of in the mid-tier, right? I mentioned I like Travis Etienne a lot, Josh Jacobs, Derrick Henry, but there's also some names like J.K. Dobbins here against Houston that I would prefer paying down 200 more. Aaron Jones at 6,300. If you want to play Mixon, go ahead, right? I think he's a better tournament play than cash game play, right? I mean, they played Cleveland twice last year, and you can look at his numbers, 12.6, 12.9. They're not terrible. Granted, it's different situations, I get that. But in this matchup, for his price, I'd rather pay down or pay up a little more for some more certainty or better matchup, I guess. So yeah, J.K. Dobbins, 6,600 against Houston, right? Houston has made some changes in their defense. They draft Will Anderson. They now have a very good defensive coordinator as their head coach, right? But we're getting a Lamar with weapons. So I think that only benefits J.K. Dobbins, right? When you're a team known for running the ball, and they're still going to run the ball, but a team that can also pass the ball efficiently again, which is huge for someone like Lamar. Someone like J.K. Dobbins benefits quite a bit. And we look at his numbers last season, averaged 5.5 yards a game, 64.7 yards a game, or average yards per carry. I don't know what. 5.5 yards per game is terrible. I don't know why I said that. But 5.5 yards per carry is huge against a team like Houston as well. So J.K. Dobbins, like I said, I'd pay $200 less for Dobbins than Mixon. We go down here now. Aaron Jones, 6,300 against the Bears. Bears have really tried to get a lot of pieces in there on the defensive line to make that defensive line better, because their defensive line was so bad. It did not matter what the secondary did, what the linebackers did. If you don't have a good defensive line, not great, not elite, but just a good defensive line, that just hurts the rest of your team, because one, you're not stopping the run as good, and two, you're not getting to the quarterback, which gives them a lot more time, which exposes your secondary, right? But they've added, Unique Ngakoue, who very good pass rusher. Run stopper has not been there. Maybe there's improvements from him, but the Bears basically add a lot of rookies to get in that defensive line to compete and find the right pieces to make that defensive line improve. But I still feel like Aaron Jones here against Chicago is a great matchup for him. A lot of great opportunities. Having Jordan Love is just getting him comfortable and seeing how he is not just throwing the ball 40, 50 times here against the Bears, who their secondary is their better part of their defense. I would say their linebackers as well. But we go and look at his games against Chicago last year. 10 in week 13. But in week 2, 35. So big opportunities there for Aaron Jones at 6,300. I really like that. Cam Akers at 6,200 is another piece that I like for cash. Cooper Kupp expected to be out week 1, so you get Van Jefferson, you get the rookie Puka. You still have Tyler Higbee there. Their offensive line is very lackluster, but I expect someone like Cam Akers to get a lot of work in that game 1, whether that be on the ground or in the passing game. Someone like Cam Akers at 6,200 should exceed in that. And on the other side of that game, Ken Walker at 6,000 against the Rams. Their defense is very shredded. But if Aaron Donald wasn't there, I'd say they probably have one of the worst defenses in the league. But they do, so it's not terrible yet. And he's someone that stops the run. But Ken Walker is another piece that I like at 6,000. I think overall a good matchup. Their pass game helps someone like Ken Walker. We saw it last season. The opportunity to excel. Now, Javonte Williams, I'm really high on Javonte Williams this season. The only difficulty is, are they going to let him play right out the gate, right? Are they going to let him be a full go right out the gate? And I think it's a good matchup against Vegas. Don't get me wrong. But the uncertainty, like a tournament play, yes. Like I'm fully okay with playing Javonte in tournaments, right? Because that's what you want, right? Lower ownership that has the potential for a high upside, right? And to go with that, we'll come back up and look at some of these names. Samaje Perine at 5,100, right? I think if you want to play either one of those guys in tournaments, I'm okay with that. In cash, there's just too much uncertainty of what they're going to do with Javonte, right? They might only give him 30% snaps, and Samaje Perine is getting the rest, right? I just don't want to take that risk in cash plays right now. Miles Sanders, I'm okay with playing in cash. He's more of a tournament play. I would like him more in tournament than I would cash, right? $100 cheaper is Rachaad White here. 5,500 against Minnesota, right? We saw kind of what Tampa Bay's offense was, and there was a lot of targets to running backs last season. White got 64 alone, right? Leonard Fournette's gone. Sean Tucker's the backup, is what they're saying is the RB2. And granted, Tampa Bay is down offensive lineman again already. But at 5,500, if you're looking for a paydown piece, Rachaad White is definitely a piece that I like. Now, I think Tampa Bay is going to surprise a lot of teams of how they played this season. But he's a piece that, like I said, I continually say I really like this week at 5,500. Just the price point alone makes me like him in this matchup, to where Minnesota's defense isn't elite. I think they have games to where they're really good, and then games to where they're very underperforming. And someone like White should be able to excel in a very interesting week one for Tampa Bay. If they can come out and knock out Minnesota on the road, it's huge for them down the stretch. So White is yes. And then something that is crazy to me, if you want to play Raheem Mostert, I'll just put this out here right now. I'm okay with playing him in tournament play, right? Cash, like the Chargers defense was not good against running backs last year. Wilson's already out. A-Chain is questionable. I think he'll play. But you got to remember the Chargers defense is healthy again this year. Their secondary is going to be very good. And their defensive line consists of Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack. So let's not forget about that. Tournament, I'm okay with playing Mostert. Cash, he's kind of out of it for me. But Khalil Herbert, right, is 5,300. Deontay Foreman is 5,500. But Khalil Herbert is the running back one in Chicago. Now, down the stretch of this season, right, I think someone like Deontay Foreman and Roschon Johnson are going to play more key roles down the stretch, right? But the Bears run the ball. They've added offensive line pieces to help them run the ball and pass the ball better. But the fact that the RB1 is cheaper than the RB2, essentially, and I think Deontay Foreman and Roschon Johnson are going to be competing for touches a lot this year. But Khalil Herbert, 5,300 against Green Bay, yes. I think Green Bay's defense is another defense that we're going to see improve. Last year against Green Bay, and you got to remember David Montgomery was still getting majority of the shares. He didn't play in the second game, but week 2, 4 for 38, 9.5 yards per carry for Khalil Herbert there. The games to where he did started, he excelled. So Khalil Herbert, 5,300 is a yes for me. If you want to take a shot on either Washington running backs, Antonio Gibson or Brian Robinson Jr., I'm okay with either one, right? Arizona's got the worst defense. I think both these guys are going to get enough volume to be good in cash or tournament play. They're not guys that are going to get 20, 30 points because they're going to split a lot this year. But 52, 51, I'm okay with either one. And then an interesting one here, I'll leave it as kind of my last one in cash, is Jamal Williams at 5,100 here. We've seen what running backs can do against Tennessee, right? They have a good box in there to stop the run. But with Alvin Kamara out, Kendre Miller was a little banged up in preseason. But Jamal Williams is going to be, for one, the red zone guy. He's going to get a lot of volume this week, and that's what you want. 5,100 for someone that's going to get a lot of volume. Jamal Williams, yes. Like, now, if you were to ask me, you know, should I go Antonio Gibson, Brian Robinson, or Jamal Williams? Like, I'm going to lean a Washington running back, but I'm still, if you're looking for the more volume side, whether that's good or bad volume, it's still a lot of volume. Jamal Williams is definitely my pick. So that is pretty much it for running backs here. Like, Zach Charbonnet is a name that I'm okay with playing in tournaments, right? A good matchup against the Rams. Other than that, there's a lot of backups and uncertainty, like Kendra Miller down here at 4,300. But that's pretty much it. So hope you guys did enjoy the video. Like I said, if you wanted to see my input on quarterbacks, that video is out. Go check it out. We'll have the wide receivers tomorrow, tight ends on Thursday, and then defenses on Friday. So if you guys are interested, just hit the subscribe button, and you could see all my videos a lot easier than trying to search it up. So hope you guys enjoyed. I will see you in the next one.